Before we install our oil in our compressor and our accumulator, we want to go ahead and transfer the switches. Now the switches in our compressor, this is a high pressure switch. I'm going to put a little bit of solvent on this, penetrating oil, right there at the switch. That's held in place with a snap ring. We just want to remove the snap ring with snap ring pliers. There we are. Get it out of the way, just like that. Okay, once the snap ring's out of the way, you got to be real careful about taking a switch out. There's a good chance you could break it. If you do, you're just going to have to replace it. Just take a pair of pliers and you just want to gently first see if the switch will move like it will now. So I know it's broke loose from the O-ring. Then you just want to go and grab hold of it and lift straight up on it. Just be gentle. There we are. It came out just fine. Okay, now what we need to do, our replacement compressor has a plug in here because some applications may not use this switch. We need to go ahead and take that plug out. Same thing, remove the snap ring. As a matter of fact, we'll reuse this new snap ring for our switch. We want to grab hold of this plug and pull it out of there. And it just lifts straight up on, just like we did on our switch. There we are. Now it already has an O-ring in place, but I want to go ahead and lubricate that O-ring. We've got some 525 viscosity oil. We're just going to lube that real well. And also I want to lube the outside of the switch. And then we go ahead and put it back in place. Just want to press down. There we are. Take our snap ring and make sure it goes into the groove and locks in place. Just like that. Okay, that switch is done. Now in our accumulator, let's go to this. We're going to go and take this switch off. This is a clutch cycling switch. Now I'll tell you something kind of unique about this switch. If this switch would be bad and that'd be your only problem, you can take the switch off and replace it without discharging the system because there is a Schrader valve there. Go ahead and take the switch off. Now also if you look at this, this has an O-ring seal on it. I want to replace this O-ring. Matter of fact, I'm going to replace all the O-rings on this whole system. Let me get this O-ring off here. There we are. I want to use this as a guide. That might be our O-ring right there for it. Take our cap off. Put our O-ring in place. We also want to lubricate that as well. Let's put a film of lubrication around it. I'm going to take our switch. Now something else on a switch while you've got it off, a lot of times these will be over tightened and they'll crack, and if they crack, the sealing edge inside there, that's a possible leak point, so you want to kind of take a look for that. This was in good shape. Just go ahead and put it in place. It just screws on. And then when you go to tighten it up, you just want to snug it tight. You don't want to over tighten it. Right there, that's fine. Okay, we've got the switches transferred. Let's go ahead and get rid of our old parts here. There's our other O-ring. Okay, now on the oil, there's three different types of PAG oil. We've talked about PAG oil all along. There's three different ones. You need to check with the folks at AutoZone. They'll tell you which one your vehicle requires. Now in our case, ours is going to take the PAG 150. This truck takes 8 ounces. We found that in our manual. Now something else about the oil, you want to be able to use it right here because this will collect moisture. But what I want to do, I've got a measuring device here. And I want to go ahead and put half of the contents into this measuring device. Okay, that's it's 8 ounces total, so that'd be 4 ounces. Now I want to go ahead and put this in the accumulator. Let's go ahead and take one of the caps off. Now you would do this kind of quick because you don't want to have the accumulator open very long because that'll start collecting moisture as soon as it's open. Pour the contents into the accumulator. Okay. Now with all the oil in place, I'm going to go ahead and cap this back up. Now, I'm not ready to install the accumulator. Matter of fact, it's going to be the very last part I put on the vehicle. There, it's sealed back up again. Okay, we take the remainder of the oil, and that should be 4 ounces as well. There we are, 4 ounces. On the compressor, I'm going to go ahead and take the cap off the compressor. Now this oil is going to go into the suction side of the compressor. Okay, there we are. I'm going to go ahead and cap that back up as well. There we go. It's sealed back up. Something else too, when we put the compressor on a vehicle, before we actually start it, we want to make sure we rotate this clutch hub 10 times, and that'll distribute the oil throughout the compressor, so when we start it back up, it doesn't try to lock it up. Tell you what, we're ready to start installing everything back on the vehicle. As with any job, to do it right, you'll need the right tools. The nice thing is that jobs today don't require a large, expensive assortment. In case where a specialty tool is required, be sure to check with AutoZone's Loan a Tool program. They have many specialty tools that can help you complete your job a lot quicker and easier. The very first thing you almost have to have in order to properly diagnose the system is a gauge set. You will also need your basic hand tools, a socket set, screwdrivers, an assortment of pliers. Snap ring pliers and a flashlight should be sufficient. If you have a noise you're trying to find, a good stethoscope can be a handy tool to have. And a vent thermometer is useful if you want to get an accurate reading of the AC temperature. You'll also need to get an air compressor to properly flush the system. If you don't have a compressor, you should pay a shop to flush the system for you. It's a step you don't want to skip.
Be cautious when working under the hood. If the engine has been running, components will be extremely hot, so be careful what you touch. When working around a running engine, it is important to be alert and never wear loose clothing or a necktie that can get tangled in belts, pulleys, or the fan.
Be cautious when working with refrigerant. If refrigerant is discharged from a can, a hose, or component, it is very cold and can cause skin injury. Never try to add refrigerant to the high side of the system. If you have to lift the vehicle,
never work under it until it has been secured with wheel blocks and securely positioned on jack stands. A hydraulic jack alone is never enough. Be cautious when working with oils and chemicals. Many are damaging to the groundwater environment and toxic to people and animals. Never drain or pour chemicals into the ground or sewer systems. Local municipalities and counties offer resources for proper disposal. And always remember to wear your safety glasses.
get the entire DVD for this repair and all other procedures covered in the Complete Car Care series at your local AutoZone store.